I want to turn now to another member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democratic Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia. Senator, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Major.
Thanks for coming here to the set. It's great to see you.
Absolutely.
Richard Burr, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, he says the committee is satisfied with the pace. One member of that committee is a little disgruntled with the pace. For the American public that is watching this and sometimes might get the impression that lack of headlines means lack of progress, give them as much of an update as you can about where this is going and the pace of the investigation.
Well, first of all, I'm brand new to the committee. I was in armed services for 6 years, almost 7 years. And intel is something I wanted to try. I wanted to learn at another level, and I really am. I'm learning the process. And I think the best way to describe the Senate Intelligence Committee versus the House, you have a show horse and you have a workhorse. And I think the Senate Intelligence could be described as the workhorse. They're building blocks. They're building their case if there is a case. They want to make sure they've covered every nook and cranny from A to Z. They're bringing in people that would have been affiliated and build up to the people that we hear an awful lot about. The Paul Manaforts of the world and Carter Page and Michael Flynn. That'll all come. There's an awful lot of people in between and beneath them. So the staff has been going methodically through that. We're all a little bit antsy. We see the House jumping out and they're bringing in the headliners, if you will. Well, if you haven't done your due diligence and you haven't built basically a direction to go, I don't know how you're going to get to the end. So I respect that. I want to pick it up a little bit more too. We all do. But Richard Burr is a good man, a good, honest man. And we have Mark Warner and the ranking member, the vice chair, on the Democrat side, and he's an excellent person. They both want the same thing. We might be a little bit more antsy, but the bottom line is I understand exactly what he's doing. I'm not passing judgment. I'm not ridiculing at all. I want to work with him.
And what's the source of that antsiness? The idea that Russian meddling in the election is a huge issue, and parenthetically, it might have had something to do with the Trump campaign. Is that what makes you antsy?
Well, I think what we know and what's declassified and what you all have reported is pretty much that we know the outcome of the election was not altered. The outcome of the election,
you have seen would suggest any alteration whatsoever.
Yeah, that the Russians were able to alter the election results. But we do know they were more involved than ever before. They have more of a desire to be involved. How much did they learn? How much do they know? How far could they have gone? And maybe why did they stop? What did they take from what they've learned? And they're using now in Germany and France and other parts of the world, trying to upend democracy as we know it. These are the things we can't tolerate that whatsoever. Because if we lose the confidence of the people saying, I know my vote went to XYZ candidate, and I know my vote was counted, if they have doubt, then we've lost the whole credibility of our free election process. We're not going to let that happen. So we are taking this very seriously. I'm going to say this, Major. I don't think there's a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Democrat or Republican, at the end of the day, wherever those facts have taken us, we will make a decision. And it's not going to be based on what party you're in, how friendly you are with the person we're looking into. It'll be based on what's best for our country, and I believe that with all my heart.
You talked about comparing and contrasting the Senate process with the House process. We had a development today where both the Republican and Democrat in the House, not of the Intelligence Committee, but of a relevant committee, said something out loud that I wonder if you think was appropriate. That Michael Flynn, the former National Security Advisor, may not have complied with the law, implying he may have broken the law. Number one, is that something a lawmaker should be saying at this stage? And number two, do you think that in any way could jeopardize a prosecution if it's actually something that a prosecutor needs to pursue?
Well, Major, let me just tell you, I take my responsibilities on the Intelligence Committee very seriously. I would have said we're looking into everything. We're looking into everything. Did he register with the DOJ? Did he make a mistake or did he intentionally hide something? You know, I wouldn't have
Michael
said,
Flynn, right?
Yeah, Michael Flynn. Those are the things your investigation will turn up. You know, your intel will tell you that. And then when you bring him in or bring other people associated, you can pretty much put the pieces of the block together. The building block will fall together. To throw that out, it's almost like saying, well, he's guilty, and you just basically skew the whole process. You're not seeing us doing that. We're not going to do that. Michael Flynn is innocent until proven otherwise. Okay, give him the benefit of the doubt, but we're not going to leave any stone unturned. And if the facts say, hey, you did this, you didn't comply, you hid this, boom, 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 there's serious charges.
There's lots of all the other stories going on in Washington. We've got the potential, and I want to get your interpretation of how real a potential it is for a government shutdown on Friday. The White House has conceded what it considers to be a major point from the campaign. No push for border funding in the 2017 fiscal year budget, what remains of it. And they're looking for concessions from Democrats. Will your party make them? And can you give our viewers some sense that there's not going to be a shutdown coming
First of all, there's no excuse for any shutdown. Because a shutdown means you're not willing to sit down and do your work. You want to go home. You want to leave for a break. I don't know why you have to get out of town when there's work to be done. I have serious concerns over basically the miners' health care benefits. We've been fighting.
Which is part of the mix and part of the conversation.
It's a big part of the mix. And with that being said, we've been guaranteed that we'll get a permanent fix.
In this legislation.
Whether it's a CR, omnibus bill, whatever it may be. And I believe I'll hold everybody to their word. Mitch McConnell has come on from the last 4-month extension to saying now he supports it, and he put a piece of legislation in, same piece that I've had in. I appreciate that. I'll work everything I can to make sure. I don't care whose name's on it. We just got to get this done.
There are other issues that Democrats are bringing up. Puerto Rico, payments under the Affordable Care Act. Could those become such obstacles that there might be a shutdown?
I don't know. I think that the things you've just talked about are serious considerations and concerns we have and serious problems that need to be addressed. The Puerto Rico thing is something that basically, with their Medicaid, it's very serious. Are we able to assist and help? Are they able to move forward? Are we sure that money's going to go and be used for the Medicaid? So there's a lot of things we can work through. I'm more than willing to sit down. There's nothing that I think it's a deal breaker. My only deal breaker would be, and it's not really a deal breaker from this standpoint, I'm just not going to leave town until my miners, the promises and what they've worked for, negotiated for, and what they paid for, is fulfilled.
Since I know this issue matters to you, and our audience may not be as conversant about it as you are, briefly explain what the issue is and what you think has to be, or what you have said has to be in this legislation.
The issue starts back to 1946. John L. Lewis, Harry S. Truman, miners want to go out and strike. Harry Truman says you can't. It's so the coal that you produce, the energy for this country, is so vital for our economic well-being. And the war was just over, and it would collapse our economy. They came to an agreement. And they said basically for every ton of coal that's mined from that day forward, a certain amount of that money from that coal that's sold will go into a fund. It'll pay for your health care and it'll pay for your pension. Very small pension. They're nothing elaborate. And with that being said, they've negotiated that every contract, 3 to 4 or 5 year contracts. They said, fine, we've taken less money home so that we had to guarantee. This goes all the way through. Federal government's been involved, bankruptcy laws allow the companies to walk away.
And what's the issue now?
The issue right now is basically we have a pay for. Their health care runs out. It goes broke and runs out.
When?
The end of this month, which is the end of this week. And we pushed it clear down. It went out last December. We gave a 4-month extension. Now we're pushing it clear up to the end. And I've said enough's enough. You've got older widows. You've got people that worked their whole life. And this is really life or death of these people. And you cannot let this happen.
And you want a permanent guarantee?
A permanent guarantee. Some people have talked about just another 20 months or this. I said, listen, that's ridiculous. That's inhumane. I spoke to President Trump about this. He's committed to the coal miners. He's been trying to help. He wants to help. He's been committed to them, and they sure were committed to him. So with that being said, I think that this is going to be completed by the end of the work week here.
Very good.
I'm committed to that, and we'll make it happen.
You mentioned West Virginians. I was with President Trump when he was a candidate in West Virginia a number of times. I saw the huge lines. I saw him put on the coal miner's hat. Nationally, his poll numbers are in the most optimistic appraisals, the low 40s and some mid-30s. What is his poll rating in West Virginia? And when you think and approach an issue, do West Virginians want you most of the time to side with this president?
I've been around long enough, Major. They know I have my own brand. I'm pretty independent from that. I'm a West Virginia Democrat. It's not the same as being a Washington Democrat. And I have a lot of friends who are West Virginia Republicans. Not the same thing as being a Washington Republican. We try to get things done. We put our state before ourselves or our party. And
but they're with the president, are they not?
They are with the president. The president still has strong support. They see a little, I say we have a little pep in our step. Some of these regulations that we're strangling He gave them a chance now to find a balance, if you can. We're not going to have the full employment we had before. The market has changed. We know that. And
not all the coal jobs are coming back.
No, and I think realistically people understand that. But we can stabilize, and we can still have a stable economy and build off of that with a diversity. We're willing to do all that, Major, and we've been trying to work for it. So he still has a large majority of those people. You know, he won by 43%.
Yes.
It was 69 to 26.
So when we talk about another issue that may come to the Senate, if in fact the House of Representatives under Republican control can get its act together, and the White House is certainly hoping in the next week and a half to 2 weeks it does, if health care comes to the Senate, and by that I mean a repeal and replace of the Affordable Care Act, what are its prospects in the Senate?
Well,
what do your West Virginians want you to do about it?
First of all, I told the President this also.
Face to face.
Face to face. I said, Mr. President, I would hope that you would consider twice before you are led down this rat hole. Basically, repeal
and replace is a rat hole.
The repeal is a rat hole. First of all, the 2009 piece of legislation, it's not the perfect piece. I wasn't there. I might not even voted for it. I don't know. But it needs to be repaired. There's not a Democrat that I know of doesn't think it needs to be repaired. The private market, it needs to be repaired. You can't continue. So it needs to be fixed. But the things we do agree on, you can't say, I'm going to repeal that. You can repeal it with 51. Budget reconciliation, they can do that, Major, you know. They can't fix it unless you got 60.
Right.
We don't have 60. So if you're going to throw it out with 51, when you don't have to throw it all out, and I would say this, if you holler to West Virginians and you say, we're going to repeal something, that means I'm going to take something away from you. If I say I'm going to repair it, that means you're going to fix it, make it better for me. It's just, you know, it's just basically the mood. So I've said this. I said, Mr. President, I can assure you the people in West Virginia don't really know how they got that health care. There's 174,000 for the first time. Then we have the expansion. We have basically
Medicaid and other things.
All the other things. These are people that are working people, never had insurance. They don't know how they got it. They don't know who gave it to them. They don't know Barack Obama.
But they know they have it.
What they do know, they'll know who took it away from them. And I don't think you need to go down that.
Before I let you go, when you said that to the President, if you could you give us at least a summary of his reaction?
I think basically he understood, because I says, I can be an honest broker. I want you to succeed. You're my president. Whether you voted for President Trump or not, he is our elected president. You want him to succeed for the sake of your country. Someone asked me a question when Hillary, a friend of mine and everything, says, now what would you do if Donald Trump gets elected, which no one thought he would have? I said, I'm going to do the same thing as I would as if Hillary Clinton. I'll do my job. His reaction was basically, I understand, I get it. I said, Mr. President, they're going to leave you with one heck of a hole. We can't go back and fix it. This process doesn't work, repeal and replace the same day. It just doesn't work that way. And they're going to take all the taxes that you pay for it. You'll be $500 billion upside down with a budget hole. It doesn't work. Let's fix the areas. Sit down with a working group. I can get 10 or 12 Democrats that really want to make this place work, and they'll work with you to fix things.
Senator Manchin, when you produce those 10 or 12 Democrats to work with the President and the White House on a fix for the Affordable Care Act, we will definitely have you back in this chair, and we'll have a long conversation.
And it'll be a fix, and it won't be a repeal. Repeal does not fly.
Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate you coming in. Thank you so much.